Do you know who's watching you right now? Chances are nobody, but that does not mean the technology is not there, waiting to be put to use.
The machine is everywhere, watching us with 10,000 eyes, listening with 1,000,000 ears.
What did I tell you about sending emails?
For 3 weeks, you could practically
Put anything in an email you cannot own.
Scenes from the movie Person of Interest. No one likes the idea of having G-men tracking your every move. And Vic Taves' Bill C-30 has exacerbated fears about the invasion of our privacy. But the fact is, Big Brother is already watching. Everywhere we go, cameras and microphones close by. They're in cell phones, computers, next-generation TVs. All have the potential to be used by government agencies, corporations, even pranksters to track you down, listen to your conversations, and even watch you sleep. We're living in the age of information, but the question becomes, where do we draw the line between public and private? I mean, what happens if the choice between the two is taken away, removed? Let's check in with Sun News reporter Kris Sims. You'll be able to catch her report on our privacy rights in Sun newspapers on Monday. All right, Kris, what have you got for Monday?
It's actually for this weekend, and then we do a quick follow-up with Brian Lilly on Monday on Byline, Charles. And what it is I've been working on it, off and on now for several weeks in between my other stories and my other duties. And the basic premise is, yes, people, like you said, are upset about C-30, but the horses already ran out of the barn. There's a dust cloud behind it. It's so far gone. Basically that all of us right now in the Western world have the potential of being watched. And like you said, it's through smartphones, which have default GPS tracking. If you just bought that thing, opened up the package and fired it up, it's being tracked. And it can trace you down to where you're standing within 12 feet at any given time. As long as there's satellites in the air, they can find where you're standing. And there's also, like you mentioned, there's two-way television sets now with crystal eye webcams built into it. And almost every laptop has a crystal eye webcam built into it. And what some people don't know, Charles, is even their TV receivers, anything that's digital now has a traceable computer attached to it. So if you say, hey, I got up in the morning at 7:13 and turned on Sun News Network, if somebody wanted to, they could dig into that and say, actually, no, you were watching the Home Shopping Network. They can figure all of that out. That also combined with some pretty heavy stuff like exit controls. For the first time ever between Canada and the United States, Charles, we're going to have exit controls. So starting in 2016, when that American border agent leans in your window and says, so, why are you leaving? Where are you going? That's usually happened on behalf of the states. But now for the first time, he's going to instantly tell the Canadian government where you're going and what you're up to. That hasn't happened before. So there's all sorts of things that if you link them all together, it can look like a surveillance society.
Kris, let me ask you this. As you were doing the research, because one of the great things about doing the kind of job you do is you learn something. You learn a lot of things every day. It's an education. Did you get the impression that you were now much less free than you were when you were a child growing up in rural BC? I mean, at points were you feeling like you were now some sort of caged animal because of the technology?
Heck yes, yes. Back when I was a kid out in Hope, if you really wanted to just get lost, you could jump in your old vehicle. At the time it was new, 1982, 1985, and you had no smartphone, you had no GPS transponder built into your car, even if you don't subscribe to it, and you could take off. The most you had was a social insurance number and a driver's license with no RFID chip. You could just take off. For hours, for days, it wouldn't really matter. Now, if somebody wanted to find you, for whatever reason, they could. Even if you don't subscribe to that, that help service on your new cars, it doesn't matter. The dealership is still tracking it. It's still sending a two-way data stream to the dealership, so much so that you might even get a cell phone call saying, hello, this is Toyota calling. It's time for a tune-up. Really?
But let me give you an example of where moms, for instance, love some of this stuff. I mean, they love the idea that their kids have smartphones with them at all time. There's no doubt that at some point they'll just have a GPS on Junior, and mom will know at all times, just looking at her smartphone, exactly what Junior is doing and where he's doing it. And so, you've got these issues of convenience. Our security ends up breaking down, but there are people who actually crave more and more of this stuff.
And that's the question I posited to a lot of the people that I interviewed, including privacy commissioners, Big Brother watchers over in the UK, experts in the United States, you name it, and they say it always is a trade-off. Let's say right now that our governments, all criticisms aside, in the Western world are basically benevolent, okay? They're not usually kicking our door down and trying to take our kids. So take that as a premise. But if you always want convenience, if you basically say, I've got nothing to hide, I want to tag my kids like I do my cat and my dog with a GPS chip, I want to just show everybody everything because I have nothing to hide, you're bargaining something there. And what you're bargaining, they say, is your privacy. And what these folks say that I was speaking with is the first thing to go, if there's ever a police state ever set up, imagine 10, 20, 30 years from now, the first thing to go is privacy. And they always warn about that. And my question is, sure, things are fine right now, relatively speaking, but what if we set up all of these surveillance systems, whether it is a new security camera in the state of New Jersey that shines a big red light on you if you get too close to another person, and to warn you seriously that the police are watching you, or if it's a nano hummingbird, which looks like a hummingbird, but is really a live streaming color camera with a microphone built into it to watch people. What if we build all these things and we construct data mines, and 30 years from now, the government changes, and it changes for the bad, and it's ideologically bent? Then what?
Kris Sims, we've got to put the stop sign up. We'll look for it in the Sun papers on Sunday and look for you to do more on Byline Monday right here. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.